and then I went on to start my own consulting firm. I have been training in the field of DevOps. I have trained quite a few organizations for the last 7, 8 years. And I have a bunch of online courses that I've authored. There's a book that I've authored on Ansible. And this is the first time I'm actually going live. And I think there's a new tool I'm using called as Restream.io. So I don't even know how this live thing works. I don't know how Restream works, but I'm supposed to be live now on 4 different channels. One is the Facebook group that I have called as Devops Ninjas. It used to be called as Devops Learners Community. I have a page on Facebook called as School of Devops. I am live, I believe, on YouTube as well. I have a YouTube channel called a School of DevOps, and then there's a LinkedIn integration I tried. So hello everyone. I can see some comments starting in. There's an unknown. I hope this shows up. So this is a new tool, so I'm really sorry if I'm not able to use it properly. Good to see you. It says unknown. Good to see you too, unknown. I hope you add your name or you're logged in with your username, or maybe it's just a problem with the tool. That is Restream.io. Oh, hello, sir, says NCB. Nitesh. Hi, Nitesh. How are you? I hope all of you are doing good. All of you are in a safe place. All of you should be at home, obviously. You're eating well, you're sleeping well, you're spending time with family. That's probably the best part about the situation that we are in right now. So yeah, I'm just gonna wait for a few more minutes for the people to join in. And this is basically a AMA session, Ask Me Anything session on DevOps. So I'm open to take up questions on DevOps, on site reliability engineering, SRE, DevOps engineering as a career, on technologies such as Kubernetes, Docker, containers in general, CI/CD, infrastructure as a code, Ansible, Terraform, and Jenkins, and Spinnaker, and anything that you want to ask related to DevOps. So if you have any questions, please go ahead and shoot at me. I would be here. This is my first live session, by the way. So thanks a lot for joining in. And if you have any questions, I'm willing to take up here. I have a few announcements to make. I have one point to talk about as well. That's what I've thought about. I don't even know the format that I should be following for these kind of sessions. Nitesh says not bad, enjoying the lockdown in London. I hope you are safe, you are with someone, Nitesh, and I'm hoping that you're making the best out of this situation as well. All right, let's see who else is there. So if you are in any of my live channels right now on Facebook group, Facebook page, YouTube, or on LinkedIn, feel free to say hello. How to get DevOps experience? There's a question right in there. I'm gonna start taking up the question. The first question that I have is, it says unknown, so I don't know why, but I'm just throwing it on my screen, the question, before I start answering. How to get DevOps experience? Now, this is a very interesting question because, what happens, you get into this vicious cycle when you want to make a career in DevOps, and especially if you're a fresher. This question is probably relevant for the freshers out there who want to make a career in DevOps engineering, right? So how do you get the DevOps experience is, unless you have the experience, you will definitely not get those senior positions. That's for sure, right? So how do you get started is what I would say is, rather than jumping right into DevOps, you start building that foundation first. The foundation that you build should be, you should be good at Linux. You should start picking up the skills on cloud. There are a lot of resources that you can, get started with, which are available for free to build that foundation. Once you have that foundation, you can go to maybe a startup and say that, hey, I want to do an internship with you. Even if you do not get paid initially for the first 6 months, go ahead and do that just for the experience, right? That's one way of getting the experience, that and then to start moving on. I can tell you this because I have helped a lot of people reach there. And the second option that you have is, once you, or if you build that foundation, if you pick up skills as cloud, aim for platform engineer, to be a cloud engineer initially, or just a DevOps intern if you get an opportunity. If you have the skills, you'll definitely get that first opportunity. Second is, you can try a little bit of a freelancing work. I'm not sure whether there are platforms that I used to use. That's how I started on, let's say, Upwork. Upwork is a freelancing portal, and they offer, I mean, you can bid for a project, and get some job there. It's quite competitive. I heard that it was closed for the new professionals also, for because they want to control the demand and supply. But if it is available, try you can try that as well. So that's my answer to how do you get an experience. It's tricky, but you can try working around that. The third part is, you can try contributing to some open source project. Start working with some developers of open source project. Pick up a nice project. Be on the IRC. There are no IRC channels now, but be on maybe Slack channels. Interact with the people. Start helping them a little bit, and then gain an experience so that you can go ahead and make a career in DevOps. All right. Next question is. Can we integrate Flyway with Jenkins directly? I need to know about Flyway a little bit more. I've never used this tool, so I cannot answer this question to you right now. But if you point me, I'll probably do a research and see if I can answer that later. All right. So, is DevOps will work for standalone application? Well, sure, yes. DevOps is not specific to any type of application like microservice. It's specific to microservices or cloud native applications and so on. It can definitely work for the standalone applications as well. It's just that certain technologies that you use related to DevOps, for example, if you start containerizing a monolith application, it's not going to give you all the features of the platform like Kubernetes, which offers high availability, scalability, auto scaling, self-healing, and fault tolerance, and so on. But it will definitely help you move a little faster than you do, because even with a monolith application, you can containerize it. You can make the application more portable. You can speed up the deployments. You can create consistent environments. You can improve on the development work and so on. So yes, DevOps will work in standalone application as well. Why not? I mean, it's a set of practices that you can use to increase the velocity of your development, deployment, automate stuff. So you can still automate your monolith applications, standalone applications, and so on. So it will definitely work. Not a fresher, but desktop. Okay, desktop support to DevOps. Yes, so you can definitely make a career in DevOps then. So if you already have the desktop support experience, if you have operational experience, if you know about Linux or Windows, based on what you want to make career in, just pick up the skills then. And in fact, I'm coming up with the right course and the program for you. I'm actually working on something called as a DevOps blueprint, DevOps mastery blueprint, and it's going to be launched at the end of the month, and that will have some projects. It's going to be a bunch of projects that you do eventually. It's a step-by-step program, level 3 program, and I'm trying to make it as much project oriented so that you get to actually implement these technologies and get some experience out of it doing that. It's not exactly as good as getting a real life experience, but it's pretty close to that. And then I have the 3 tips that I've given you on how do you get experience in DevOps. All right, the next question, NCB, is how do I get started with Packer? Well, if you're saying how to start learning Packer, and this is what I typically do when I want to learn a new technology, is just create some environment. In case of Packer, you just install Packer as a tool. You can do it on your laptop, desktop, wherever you want. Install something like VirtualBox maybe to get started with. Packer has a lot of examples. available. So just try out the example code. The way I learned Packer was I just set up the environment. I had VirtualBox set up on the same laptop. I downloaded the templates for Packer. I read through the templates. It's once if you don't understand it first time, go again and try reading it again. Maybe second time, third time. Generally, third time is when you should start getting an idea about how things work. Then you just go and try Packer, build an image, then try adding your script, adding your code to it, and then you can replicate that with any other hypervisor, including VMware, or go to cloud and set up an environment, free account on cloud, and try it out. So trying out things, experimenting, breaking things, building it is my best way of learning it, and that's what I would suggest with Packer. And good thing about Packer is it has a good amount of templates. Most of those templates are good, they work fine, so try that. All right, next question. How to obtain industry standard projects on DevOps? As all the trainings online I just talk about, I'll post this question here. How to obtain industry standard projects on DevOps? As all the trainings online are just talk about basic stuff, not good that way, right? I agree on this, and that's the reason I created the Ultimate DevOps Bootcamp, which was supposed to be a project-based approach, and that's what I mentioned to you, Nitesh, that I'm creating this DevOps blueprint, and there's the next level, the level 2 of that is a 3-level program. First level is concept, second is implementation, where you take a project and build DevOps systems, DevOps solutions for it over a period of 30 days. So every day you do something, let's say, and it's a bunch of microservices application. It's a pretty good industry standard project. And you take those microservices and start implementing something. Let's say start building a CI pipeline for it, then automate it using Jenkins, then containerize it, then deploy it using Spinnaker or Kubernetes and so on. So that's was my idea, because I realized this problem that there are no project based or even if there are projects, they are like Hello World or very simple projects which make no sense when it comes to gaining a practical experience. So all I can answer at this point of time is go check out the course when I launch it at the end of this month. And if that interests you, definitely take it up. I'm improving. I'm coming up with the second iteration of my that program right now, and I'm going to add more projects. So my idea is level 1 is concept, level 2 is implementation, 30 days. You learn about DevOps at the end of it. And then there's a mastery program, which is 100 days or 90 days, which is project based. And then there are deeper courses, deeper concepts that you go through and so on. So that's about the industry standard projects. Next question is, where can I find good source of getting foundation knowledge of DevOps? Again, there is unfortunately no one place where you can go and find all the things that you need to build that foundation on DevOps. Mainly when people talk about DevOps in the sense of oh, DevOps is a practice, DevOps is about culture, which makes no sense, because that building that culture or learning about that doesn't give you any advantage when it comes to building a career as a DevOps engineer. Most of the people want to make a career as a DevOps engineer or maybe a site reliability engineer. And in order to get there, when it also comes to DevOps, most of the trainings, courses, people talk about, hey, go and learn about CI/CD, go and do this infrastructure as a code, learn Ansible, learn cloud, learn deployment tool, and so on. What they forget about is the foundation. And the foundation is all about having the a deep knowledge about your operating system, let's say Linux, knowledge of scripting, knowledge of networking fundamentals, foundations, knowledge of troubleshooting, right? That's one of the most important skills. And again, this is all the reason why this is more the reason why you should look at my DevOps. I'm going to call my first level conceptual course as a DevOps blueprint, DevOps mastery blueprint, and it talks about how do you build the foundation. I will talk about and communicate about when this gets launched, but I'm working on it right now. This downtime, the lockdown period, has given me an ample opportunity to work on my dream project, which is my dream project has been to create a program, and if somebody goes through that, they should be able to go get a job as a DevOps engineer. So building a foundation, then adding all the DevOps concepts, DevOps implementation, and then mastering it. So if you go through that step by step, you should be set as a DevOps engineer. And the reason why I am so confident about this program is I have been able to help a lot of people with their careers. I have been able to help transform the careers. So people have gone from 1x salary to, let's say, 7x and 8x and 5x of what they earn in terms of that, and they've been very happy with the things that they've learned. And mainly the people who worked with me in my consulting organization, most of them came from a little bit of, some of them were freshers, some of them had 2 years of experience, and then this the consulting opportunity that and working with me has helped them a lot making that career. So I'm just trying to codify all of that and coming up with this program, and I will be launching this, announcing this. This is the biggest project of my life, the most interesting one. I am excited about it, and it is going to have all of that about building foundation, and everything that you would want to know about. All these questions that you're asking will be answered there. How can I move from Java developer to DevOps developer? Hey, so here's the thing that I would suggest, right? So if you're a Java developer, think about what really aspires you. Where do you really want to go there, right? So you want to move up in your career. Basically, that's what I get a feeling from your question. Now, there are two options for you. You are a developer. So one way to go is you be a full stack engineer. And that's, to me, it seems more like a logical step for you to go from a developer to full stack developer, learn about all these new technologies in the world of development, machine learning, analytics, be a full stack developer. That's one way to do that, because that's a logical progression. The other option is you give up that and you go on to a completely different area, that is DevOps. And DevOps, yes, is about writing code, but it's more like automation, infrastructure automation, building pipelines, so automating those pipelines, deployments. And there's also a lot of operational activities where if you want to make a career as a DevOps engineer. Now, while you become a full stack developer, you can pick up the relevant skills related to DevOps, like how do you incorporate continuous integration, how do you incorporate automated testing, how do you incorporate Kubernetes and containerization. So those are the things that you can learn and become more like a DevOps practitioner. So I have, generally I separate people into two groups. One is operations people, system administrators, network engineers, database administrator, anybody with operational background who can be a DevOps engineer. That's a logical, progression for them. And people who have development experience, you can pick up the skills that are relevant to you. It will definitely help you with the career. But they are the ones who don't want to make a career as a DevOps engineer, but they want to be a DevOps ready DevOps practitioners, be better in their careers, and then pick up maybe all their development practices, agile and microservices, analytics, machine learning, and so on. So you decide which way you want to go. If you go the DevOps engineer way, you will be giving up your developer experience and starting it like a fresher. That's the reason I said you become a more like a developer who has knowledge of DevOps practices, that is. All right. Let's take the next question. Oh, I really thanks a lot for all these questions, because I was a little skeptical whether people will attend these sessions or not, because this is the first time I'm doing it, and skeptical about how many questions that I get. So I did come up with my own questions if you don't ask. But there's been a lot of questions coming in, so I really enjoyed these kind of sessions. So next one is, let's read this. From desktop support to tech support, new job. Okay, so this is the same logical, same question, some more information related to that. Is there Kubernetes alone has job openings? Okay, if I reframe this, all the job openings are related to Kubernetes. Is that what it is how I rephrase this question? Well, yes, Kubernetes is the future. Not all job openings are related to Kubernetes. There are a lot of openings who are organizations who are looking for people who are very, very good at DevOps engineering, overall DevOps, not just Kubernetes. Kubernetes is just one part of it. In fact, even if you don't know about Kubernetes, you can be a very good DevOps engineer and help people build rest of the things. And then, because there are a lot of organizations who have not even moved to Kubernetes yet, so they still are looking for automation with CI/CD infrastructure like Ansible, and those tools will be very useful for you. So it's not just Kubernetes alone, but yes, Kubernetes is the future, because if you look at the way software platforms have evolved, so we had just the hardware, then came the virtualization, then on top of that became the cloud. Cloud was one of the most prominent platforms since 2006 after AWS launched their initial services. But just like cloud, the next platform which is in making is Kubernetes. And it's not just a tool to deploy your containers, it is set to be a platform. That's a very, very powerful concept, because when I say platform, everything else will run on top of Kubernetes. What does that mean? You need to know about Kubernetes for sure. And that's a reality of today, and that's the future. So if you've not started with Kubernetes, this is the time to get started with it. The earlier you start with Kubernetes, the better job prospects you have in terms of your career. That's for sure. I can tell you, I can bet all my money on that. Kubernetes is the future. So learn Kubernetes, master it. It's going to help you a lot. And when I say platform, there are CI/CD, which is going to be native on Kubernetes. Like, your Jenkins pipeline jobs and all that will run as native Kubernetes jobs. There's this entire service mesh concept which sits on top of Kubernetes. And then there are monitoring tools. There are other tools. There are, people are extending Kubernetes and incorporating their projects to it. So there's a lot of work going on in this field. And Kubernetes is one of the prominent technologies of future. It's a future-proof technology. If you know and master Kubernetes, you're set for next 5 years for sure. Your Docker and Kubernetes, next question, are enough to get good knowledge on these things? Well, I have 2 courses. If your question is whether my Docker and Kubernetes courses are enough, I have 2 courses currently. One on Docker, second on Kubernetes. My Kubernetes course is already comprehensive. Yes, so it's definitely going to help you to get started and go to intermediate level in Kubernetes. My Docker course is set to be revamped because I created it a couple of years ago. I'm introducing a lot of more concepts there. So yes, if you subscribe to my Docker courses now, you will get those updates, and that will help you master Docker. Eventually, it will have all the content this year. Kubernetes course is already good. It's comprehensive. Again, I'm adding more topics to it, so it will definitely be useful for you to master these concepts. I'm coming up with a new course on CKA, which is the Certified Kubernetes Administration. It's in making right now. That's more like a project-oriented, practical knowledge. I give you the projects, you do it. Basically, you learn through that, and you master Kubernetes so much so that you can crack the certification. That's the new course I'm coming up with. So my current course is Docker and Kubernetes. Kubernetes is good enough. Docker is going to be updated, so you will get the updates even if you subscribe now to that course. And there's a new course coming up on CKA. And then I have 2 more related courses. One on OpenShift, which is a platform as a service on top of Kubernetes. Very interesting technology. And then Service Mesh, which is the future. Again, once you start using Kubernetes, you master Kubernetes first, then you think about Service Mesh anyways. But that's another interesting thing which sits on top of Kubernetes as a platform. Okay. Next question is, I'm from manual testing background. Any prerequisite to learn DevOps and AWS? Well, Chetan, I would suggest, again, if you are planning to make a career in DevOps, you need to get that foundation. Since you come from the testing world, especially manual testing, what are the things that you should know about? You should get started understanding Linux properly, because that's the foundation you build. Linux, networking, scripting, that's part of automation. That's the foundation. And then you start learning about the rest of the DevOps technologies after that, which will help you a lot, especially CI/CD part and all of that, right? So if you planning to be a DevOps engineer, that's what I would suggest. You need to build that foundation, and that's a career change for you again, from testing to DevOps. All right, there's another question from Nitesh. Nexus and satellite repos, I don't have it planned right now. Especially artifacts, yes. So Artifactory is something that I had included in one of my courses, but now with all the software development going on, the Docker way, it's mostly the Docker registries which serve as artifact management system. Now you can use Artifactory as a Docker registry as well, but I focus more on these days. Even my CI/CD course that I published for Linux Foundation last year, it focuses more on the Artifactory, not the Artifactory, the Docker registry actually as artifact management system. I understand artifact management is important, but it's more like a Docker related stuff I have. Okay, let's go to the next one. Investing with Kurt. Oh, hey Kurt, he's a friend of mine, and it's good to see you here, Kurt. There's a message from Abhijit, who has worked with me. Thanks a lot. Abhijit can tell you how much help I have been um, with his career, maybe as a tester. How much overlap? Okay, this is a good question. As a test, I'll get a good questions. A lot of questions from QA today. As a tester, Selenium SDDT, how much overlap does DevOps has with Selenium in real-time projects? Well, Selenium can be a part of your DevOps automation pipeline. Mainly automating your UI tests, UI related tests is where Selenium comes in. So I actually, separate DevOps into 5 categories of practices. One is cloud, second is infrastructure as a code, third is CI/CD. Indeed, in fact, you can converted into CI and CD as 2 practices also, but I just call it as CI/CD. Fourth is the containers. Fifth is observability. Observability is nothing but monitoring your logs, metrics, and the traces. Now, out of these 5, the CI/CD part is where your testing comes in. Any testing tools, including Selenium, are part of your continuous integration pipeline, because continuous integration is where after you've written your software, checked in your code, you want to get an immediate feedback on it. And how do you get that feedback is by running the tests. And that's where I would keep Selenium as. So that's where it overlaps. That's where it gets it becomes part of your DevOps pipeline. And that's the role of Selenium in the overall DevOps, I would say. How DevOps is going to help in machine learning. Now, okay, it could be machine learning. This question can be replaced with anything else: machine learning, analytics, anything else that you, big data or anything, right? So how does DevOps help? Is actually DevOps helps you to automate your entire workflow, right? So where does DevOps come in is, let's say, let me give you an example of a car manufacturing, right? So car manufacturing, there are 2 processes. One is the design of your car and building the prototype. Second is, once the prototype is built, once this is done, okay, this is what we want to manufacture, the entire manufacturing process can be automated, right? So the same way, you can actually have 2 parts of your software delivery actually workflow. One is the actual coding process, designing and creating and writing the software, right? That's where development comes in. And once the code is there, how do you go and deploy everything, do this, and automate your environments, automate the CI/CD, automate the infrastructure, use cloud platforms, automate the deployment, set up the monitoring tools. And it can be a microservice application, it can be a big data application, it can be a machine learning application. These practices do not change. So for every application that you build, there might be different ways of handling it, there might be different ways of deploying it, there might be different metrics that you want to monitor, but the processes remain same. So DevOps can help in anything, not only machine learning. You can replace machine learning with anything else, DevOps is definitely helpful, because once you build this machine learning application platform and stack, you need someone to deploy it, you need someone to monitor it, you need someone to automate it, and that's where DevOps professionals also come in. So DevOps practices and DevOps professionals are helpful in any type of application. Doesn't matter, because I have personally worked with microservices, I have worked with big data applications, analytics applications, I have worked with databases, I have worked with network stack applications. So for anything you can use DevOps practices. No brainer there, right? So it's as simple as that. How important is to learn Kubernetes in the analytics space? Again, this is from Kurt. So, okay, interesting question, Kurt. So, again, Kubernetes is important in any space. It's not just analytics. Same answer that I provided for DevOps applies to Kubernetes as well. Because once you build the analytics application, let's say you have Spark and you have Hadoop and you have this and you have the any technology that you have, you may want to once you build the services, once you've written the application, you want to deploy that. How do you deploy that? Is you start with containerizing it. That's where Docker comes in. So Docker helps you with taking your application and packaging it in the container format. Once you package it, how do you deploy it at scale? How do you run your services? How do you connect your application to another service, backend service, another recommendation engine, another analytics engine? Is where Kubernetes provides you all these components. How you deploy it, how do you connect it to your microservices, how do you scale it? It also provides you with high availability by default. It lets you do load balancing, it lets you do whatever else. It provides you manage the storage on cloud, off cloud, and it gives you the same platform on the cloud, on your data center, or anywhere else. So you get the same platform. It's the platform you run your applications on top of. It could be analytics, it could be anything else for that matter. Share your course links. You can go to, so if you want to subscribe to any of my courses, what I would suggest is, okay, let me see if I can share my course links. So there are a few courses I have. One of the courses actually published on very recently on edX. This is via Linux Foundation. I have created 2 courses for Linux Foundation, and one of that is called as Introduction to Site Reliability Engineering and DevOps. I would highly recommend you take this, because this covers a lot of foundational topics that I just mentioned about, and this is free. So you can enroll and audit for free, and that's just something that you can get started with. The second place where you find my courses is schoolofdevops.com. This is my new platform. Actually, some of you might have enrolled to my courses on schoolofdevops.net, which was a different platform. And this is the new one. I'm actually building it right now. So not all courses are available, but I would say, if you go and look at my courses here, I have all the topics there. And then at the moment, you can go to any of these topics. Let's say it has links to my free course. So my edX course is here. So you can go to my edX course and enroll from using the link here. There's another course on continuous delivery by Linux Foundation. I have authored this. You can go here. And then all my other courses are here. For example, if you want to enroll to Kubernetes course, you can go to schoolofdevops.com, courses link. And if you click on Kubernetes course, let's say Kubernetes Mastery, it has different names on different platforms right now. I'm just experimenting with it. And you can click on buy on Udemy. You can directly go to Udemy and do that as well, but using this link will also give me, it's my own promotional link, so it is beneficial for me as well. So you can actually click on that and it will take you to a Udemy page. I'm enrolled already, so I see a course page actually directly, but you can also search from Udemy directly, School of DevOps, and you will land up there. But I would much rather prefer if you go to schoolofdevops.com and enroll to my courses from this page actually. Again, this is work in progress. Not everything is there, not everything is working, but you will definitely, you can enroll to any of my courses through that. Right, that's the answer to my course links, course page there. Okay, I'm back here on my camera. All right, Krishna says, "Hi Gaurav, hi Krishna. Scripting need to required in DevOps? If yes, which scripting will cover?" Okay, Krishna, yes. So one of the foundational technologies you need to learn about is scripting. For sure, apart from Linux administration basics and so on, or I would make it part of the Linux itself. So, which scripting language should you master? I would recommend two. One is Bash or shell scripting. Second is Python. Right now, Python is for advanced. So, if you're just getting started, Bash is enough. Right. I will put you on with I'm going to interview one of my very dear friends and who is a DevOps engineer who has done a lot of interviews recently. He's one of the top DevOps engineers in India, and if you ask him, he has learned Python, but he would say that and I'm talking. The reason why I'm interviewing him, or I'll seek some, I'll put him on the interview is basically because he's recently done all these interviews. Even though I know all about this, that's what industry is demanding. So even if you know one scripting well, that is Bash, that's good enough. You need to know about scripting. You pick up whatever you can find easier. I find Bash being much easier than Python, but if you can master Python, nothing like that. But I would rather focus on building a portfolio of all my skills rather than just mastering one. For the sake of time, basically, because if you want to make a career in DevOps and if you have the 6 months, you need to be very, very focused. So pick up Bash if you're new, and just not even, you don't have to go too deep into it. Just learn the basics of scripting and automation, because when you talk about DevOps automation, a lot of that is declarative code. It's not a script that you write. There's a concept between, there's a difference between a procedural approach and declarative code. I'll talk about it in another video. But what you write in DevOps mostly is declarative code, whether it is Docker file, a Jenkins file, an Ansible code, a Terraform code. It's all declarative. That's one of the key principles of DevOps automation tools. But having the knowledge of scripting is essential, because there are a lot of times where you'll have to do some ad hoc tasks, and for that you need to know about scripting. And people or organizations who interview you will ask about scripting for sure. All right, so one monitoring tool that every DevOps person should learn. What I would suggest is one monitoring tool. If I have to just pick one, I would say Prometheus. It is because Prometheus has become a very prominent tool recently and will be so in future, especially with its integration with Kubernetes and so on. Now, however, having mentioned one tool, I'll talk about monitoring a little bit. Monitoring in its new avatar, new character, is called as observability now in DevOps. And observability has three things. You set up observability system so that you monitor things, you analyze it, and it will help you to give a big picture about your systems. What are the three types of data that you want to monitor? One is the metrics. Metrics is your system data like CPU, memory, utilization. It's a time series database. At this time, my CPU, average CPU utilization was this much. My network bandwidth was this much. My database connections were these many. My latency was this much. All of this is metrics. The most common thing that you do is metrics monitoring, including tools like Nagios and all of that. Nagios is dated now. It's very reliable, but its time is gone. Now it's Prometheus, which is pretty good. Prometheus is useful for metrics. So if you have to pick one tool, that's the one. Second data point that you monitor. First is metrics. Second is logs. Third is traces. Logs monitoring, you have a lot of tools. Most prominent being Splunk and ELK. The open source is ELK. Elasticsearch, Logstash, Kibana, that stack. In fact, Elasticsearch, Fluentd and Kibana, EFK is better in terms of performance. Third is the traces, distributed traces, especially useful for microservices. When you have microservices, when your request comes in, it goes from one service to another, to the third service, the fourth service, and then it traverses back or comes out of somewhere. So how long it took from this service A to service B to C to D? Because when you have a latency, when your performance goes down, latency is very high. You want to exactly be able to point to which service has a problem. and that distributed tracing gives you that idea. So three things to monitor, three things to observe. Out of that, metrics is more important. Out of that, for metrics monitoring, Prometheus stack is important. Prometheus is not just one tool, it's a stack of tools. You have at least five things. One is the Prometheus, which is a time series database. Then to present the data, you have Grafana. Then to collect the data, you have other services like Node Exporter, Kubernetes. If you want to monitor Kubernetes, you have Forwarder for Kubernetes, Kube State Metrics. For Mongo Exporter. So for every application, you have this exporter. It makes a lot of things easier. It is much more sophisticated than the previous generation tools. So Prometheus is the one. Next question is, I'm a full stack Savantak. Okay. Hi, Savan. I'm a full stack developer. Should I learn DevOps? Because it's use domain. What things dev points to view? Okay. Again, I have answered this question earlier. So either you become a DevOps engineer, the operations people go and become the DevOps engineers. Developers, you don't make DevOps as a career as such, but you learn a lot of useful things for to help you make your career future proof, as well as help you with all these new technologies which are useful for developers. There are things which are useful for developers are CI/CD, continuous integration. You must know about it. Mainly Jenkins files tool like Spinnaker. Definitely Git branching, merging, revision control. You should definitely know about for sure. The third thing is containerization. Containerization, you should know about Docker and Kubernetes. Kubernetes is for everyone, because once Kubernetes, or it's already has become a platform. So once you start deploying your applications on Kubernetes, as a developer, you should be building deployment strategies. You should know about how storage works in Kubernetes, how the load balancing and ingress works, what are pods, how they are deployed. So those are the basic knowledge. Everybody should know about that. So for a developer, as a full stack developer, containerization, Docker, Kubernetes, CI/CD, Jenkins, Git, revision control. Those are the things that you should know about, and that's going to help you immensely. But you don't have to go and think about making a career in DevOps. That's a waste of energy and time for you, because that's a completely different career, vertical for you actually. So stick to full stack development. That's a great future prospect you have. But learn about these technologies, which will make it even give you a killer profile. We're not able to see. Are you able to see now? Can you guys see me? All right. Go language. Is it good to learn? All right. Go language. Is it good to learn? It's definitely good to learn. But for whom is the question, or should be the question. If you are a DevOps engineer, if you aspire to be a DevOps engineer, it's not a must for you to learn Go. Any language that you learn or pick up on the sides, it's definitely a great value add, because when you start deploying those applications written in Go, you know how to debug it, you know what the problems are, how to deploy it, and so on. But that's all you need to know from a DevOps engineer's point of view. If you're a full stack developer, if you're a developer in general, Go is a great language, because if you look at a lot of new technologies, including Docker, Kubernetes, they're all written in Go. And then there are a lot of other tools which have been built with Go. So Go is a great language to learn for a developer. For a DevOps engineer, it's an optional. I'm not a Go developer, so it wouldn't matter for your career. Okay. Okay. Next question is. Can you give me some